Okay. Hello guys. We are doing the presentation. My name is Hanyu and Lucia, Moriya, Sang, and for here we are going to do the pandemic policies for poverty issues comparison between China and Japan. So yeah, let's get started. And sorry. Okay. Um, So firstly, we are going to talk about the timeline over here. So we're going to compare the timeline between Japan and China during 2020 and 2022. So firstly, in Japan, the first cases of COVID-19 confirmed in Japan in 2020 January. And in the same year, April, Japanese government has announced emergency based on the special measure laws. And then since this time um till the 2022 the Japanese COVID policies are like continuously changing a little bit, but then like um is kind of continuous, not into big changes, but then there's a different situation in China. In China, the first case of COVID-19 was found in 2019 in December, and the Chinese government has a nationwide lockdowns and announced in the 2020 January, and um, and in the next month in 2020 February, at the end of the February, this um this emergency policy and the restoration restrictions are actually stopped. So the life go back to normal in March, and but still there is scattered outbreaks of cases continuously from this time. But a twist happened in 2022 when the Omicron virus existed in China, and then a second wave of large-scale outbreak happened, and then due to the zero COVID policies inside China, there is continuously lockdowns happened in uh, many regions, and till the December, the end of the year, the government stopped all the COVID-related policies. And so, after we noticing the timeline, we wanted to know if the pandemic has causing poverty issues here. So we will have evidences to show that. So the first evidence is the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. The CPI is showing that how much the citizens are participating inside the market. So if the CPI price is high, it means people are spending money. If it is low, people are not. And if we look at the graph here, in the early spring in 2020, the Chinese CPI dropped pretty radically, and in the Japan um dropped in the late in July, which means in these two countries people are getting influenced and are not spending money. And also the unemployment rate in Japan, if laughing is Japan, right, is China, you can see that after the spring of 2020, the unemployment rate is growing pretty high. And this these two evidences showing that people are losing their jobs, and people are losing their savings. People are not spending money in the marketing. So we're going to talk about the social issues existed before the pandemic. In Japan, there's gender issues, and also younger generations, informal workers. In China, there's regional development inequality, and also younger generations, manual labors are not getting paid well enough. But then the new issues existed, and they are actually causing, there's no new issues. They are actually the old issues becoming bigger caused by the pandemic, and we are going to explain it later. And but also we are going to mention here about the government policies um for the two countries to deal with the pandemic. Um, in Japan, the policy um is that they're giving money. So unemployment benefits, the emergency microcredit fund loans are given, but not in China. And China is providing hospital free healthcare for the COVID cases, and mm, China is also providing coupon, or it's called like um, marketing ticket for the citizens. And let's give the presentation to Lucia.
Yeah, from here, we would like to talk about NGO laws in both countries. First, I introduce the case of Chinese NGO. In China, due to the state policy, there is not a lot of power for NGOs to work in China. All NGOs have to be registered under the government. Also, those NGOs activities must follow under government guidelines. Due to these reasons, there is a limited help from NGOs during the pandemic season. On the other hand, the case in Japan, Japanese NGO plays a major role with regard to emergency responses such as COVID-19. They have been active during the pandemic by providing food and supplies and conducting a consultation to the public. However, the challenge for NGOs in the current situation in Japan, the citizen trust in NGOs is significantly lower than in other developed countries. In Japan, efforts to improve the accountability of domestic NGOs have been progressing in recent years, and NGOs are entering an era in which the process of gaining the trust of citizens is being emphasized through proactive disclosures of environmental, social, and governance-related information in addition to existing information such as financial and business reports. Then it is essential to further promote collaboration with other sectors and stakeholders. As the number of actors involved in international cooperation increases, NGOs must not lose sight of the definition of a nonprofit civil organization engaged in international cooperation and the essence of the definition, but must always identify activities that are needed in the context of the global and domestic trends and gain the sympathy and support of citizens while being trusted by other sectors as important partners. Here, we are showing about analysis. We are saying that the new issues are the old issues that become bigger. And the reason why such kind of things happen is the residency capacity between different classes. The main issues before the pandemic between two countries are the inequalities. And as an example, the saving of two different classes, the sixth class will have a much bigger saving to help them pass the pandemic, while the poor doesn't. And also the same the job marketing about middle class people tend to be the work inside their office. It is easy to turn to remote during the pandemic, but the lower class will have to work manual labor job, which is restricted during the pandemic. The pandemic is making the separation bigger between classes. So the lastly, we have conclusion and policy recommendation. After all the present and the introduction, we come to the conclusion part of what might be better to do, like what we have mentioned before. There are different currency support policy between China and Japan. And one big difference is the direct financial support in Japan and shopping discount tickets in China. Both policies are trying to support the broke citizens during the pandemic. But the economists in China believe that the direct financial support would cause inflation. And shopping tickets would be encouraging people to participate inside the market. But however, when broken citizens are losing their savings, it is a better choice to help them directly instead of making them support the market. The CPI in 2022 and 2023 in China is showing that people have back their interest to the market. If people don't have money, you can make them buy anything with coupons. That's all from us. Thank you very much for your cooperation.